The Phoenix Suns are struggling. We're exploring the full range of emotions Suns fans are going through and answering the question, is it time to hit the panic button? It's PHNX Suns, and it's coming up right after this. Psychos and sickos unite for a panicked edition of the PHNX Suns Show, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $200 in bonus bets. It's Eric, Gil, Steven, and of course the freckled mama behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. J. Cole will be joining us later. He's perusing around downtown Phoenix as we speak, but we'll get him on the program shortly. But of course, the most important people, even if J. Cole pulls up, is all of you in the chat. Drew, Kara, Boom, Meatloaf, Chris, thank you everybody filing in early on a Monday, fresh off of one of the worst losses for the Suns this season, and honestly for the Suns in quite some time. We're going to discuss, is it time to hit the panic button? We're going to examine all 5 stages of where Suns fans could be right now, from complete zen to losing your hair, but I'm never losing my hair when I'm around you guys. How are we feeling on a Monday?
On time, as Kara said.
That's right.
Good to see that. Good to see
Shout
that.
out Kara.
Tone has been set.
Kara did not forget that we had a 3 p.m. show today.
Not today, right?
Yeah, tone has been set. I'm feeling okay. Yesterday was ugly. We talked about flushing it. But as ugly as yesterday was, Saturday was cool. So
yes,
you kind of leave 50-50 based on all of that, although there's a lot of news that has you feeling not great.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I could not care less about last night. The moment that we ended the show last night, that game has been completely wiped from my memory.
Okay.
Like, it's except for the good parts. Like, very selective memory for me on last night's game. Unfortunately, Steven, there are some bigger picture things that have been coming out with this team. Let's start with the biggest picture. That is Dillon Brooks. According to Shams Charania, his timetable to return is 4 to 6 weeks, but it might be closer to that 6 weeks because Gambo went out there and said Dillon Brooks will be having surgery on his fractured left hand either today or tomorrow. What were your thoughts when this news came down about Dillon Brooks?
I like the immediacy of him having the injury addressed so that you can, as soon as possible, start the recovery process. Now, does he land in that 4 to 6 window that they gave us as far as weeks for him to be reassessed? Don't know. But I do know that you can't get to even thinking about that part of it without the actual procedure itself taking place. So kudos to him and everybody in the decision-making realm to get that and get the wheels rolling there. And now it's just about how does he heal and when is he ultimately able to start playing basketball again. Unfortunately, with the hand, there will be a little bit of a ramp-up period for him and just kind of getting it hit at times. Being someone that likes to reach, getting that hand back involved and not thinking about that part of it. But I think, again, just back to the surgery, I'm glad it's happened now.
That's a good point. I think the one thing we know about Dillon Brooks is that he's going to do whatever it takes to get back on the court as soon as possible. Something we were talking about last night as we were leaving the studio and leaving the office is that the good thing is, if there's any good you can take from an injury, is that he can still work out. He can still do a lot of cardio, so the legs will still be there. Obviously, you cannot replicate game speed and game repetitions, but that learning curve to get him back in shape physically as far as his cardio goes won't be as big of an issue because having a hand issue should not really limit that. But as you mentioned, the stuff, the tentativeness, all of those things, especially for a guy who likes to be on full go, I feel like the training staff and doctors might have to protect him from himself because Dillon Brooks isn't going to play basketball unless he can play the way that he wants to play. So, it's just keeping an eye on. One thing I pointed out when I saw the timetable, there are 14 games between now and the next 4 weeks, and then 20 games between now and the next 6 weeks, and there are 24 games left in the season. So based on this timeline, he could come back with 4 games left between the end of the regular season and the play-in tournament or playoffs, but we also got to see how it goes.
And not to be doomsday here, because as you'll hear from me later in the show, I'm not really feeling doomsday right now on the panic meter. That's a reevaluation period.
That's fair.
There is still a chance because we don't know what bone was broken in his hand. We don't know how severe it is. The operation hasn't happened yet. When he comes out of surgery, I think we'll have a better idea. But there is definitely a chance that we don't see Dillon Brooks for the rest of the regular season. And if this team doesn't automatically get a playoff bid and they're playing in the play-in without him, well, there's a chance that we don't see Dillon Brooks for the rest of the season. The good news is that that's not just been completely ruled out, right? Like, there is a realistic chance that Dillon Brooks comes back to this team, and it does give them some time to maybe acclimate themselves from a Jalen Green perspective going up in the pecking order. Hopefully Grayson Allen's back, but then you look at some of these younger guys like a Rasheer Fleming or a Ryan Dunn, who had a very bad game last night on the offensive end. Maybe he can fail upwards a little bit and kind of get a little bit more comfortable taking shots, missing shots, and then going past that because Dillon Brooks isn't going to be playing. So it is a unfortunate absence for the Suns. I think what compiles on top of it is the other news that we got earlier today, which was Jordan Goodwin does not yet have a timetable for return. That, of course, courtesy of our friend over at AZ Central, Dwayne Rankin, who said that he's still being evaluated. It's a calf strain, but Steven, not having a timetable yet to me, and this is just me assuming and maybe worrying a little bit, makes it feel like it's a little more on the severe side and not just something minor.
I just don't want to jump the gun on that part. I know what my limitations are. I know what my strengths are. One of my limitations is not knowing the doctor side of injuries. So I don't want to jump the gun there. I definitely understand where you're coming from with it, but maybe it's just taking them a little bit more time to assess what it is that his injury actually is, where the severity of it is potentially, and developing some sort of a timetable to base things off of after that.
I think the thing, too, keeping it in mind as far as that goes is thinking about, okay, who's going to step up? And last night was such a weird example of it because there was also no Grayson Allen. I expect him to be back. It was the back-to-back situation with them, and this team has 5 back-to-backs left on the schedule. But the concern with that, as we saw last night, and, Jordan Goodwin is a very unique, one-of-a-kind player as far as him being like a point forward center type player. He's a whatever you need him to be type of guy. But you saw that, one, the inability to heat opponents up as far as they bring the ball up the court allows them to get more comfortable than they would be if he were available. And 2, you could see that on the flip side, the Suns are very uncomfortable because there were guys who aren't used to initiating offense were forced to initiate offense. So Kaz, we've talked about in the past, don't rush it back. It depends on what the severity is and the designation of what it is. We saw guys come back soon or too soon or whatever, but I expect them to take their time with it.
The defensive hit is going to be really concerning, but Steven, I kind of want to just explore before we get to the panic meter here, maybe what could be a good thing that comes out of this, because when guys who are clear-cut rotation pieces, very important pieces on the team, for any team, are out, it does suck on one hand. On the other hand, if you have a deep team, if you have guys that have been in the waiting on the wings at either position, it does give them an opportunity to grow their own game either for the immediate or for the long-term future. Could you see maybe this missed time from 2 key players being a somewhat blessing in disguise for some of the Suns' rotation pieces that are deeper on the bench?
Yeah, no different than it was for Grayson Allen and them discovering that he can do a whole lot more on the ball than they came into the season believing. And that being something they can add to the greater picture once they touch metal, hopefully do get back to the full health part of it. Other part of that too, you look at it through that lens, Amir Coffey last night, that little stretch that he had was far from insignificant. It was at a moment where the team needed it. It got them within striking distance. It happened without the starters on the floor. I think all of those things matter. That's a player that can do more than what he's been kind of able to showcase so far, and he's only been here for a little over a week now. I think another person that can benefit from these situations is obviously the rookies. Everybody's been screaming, Jordan needs to play the rookies. How are they supposed to develop if they can't play minutes? This team should be developing the rookies, this, that, and the third. Well, you're seeing now firsthand what the opportunity looks like for them and where they are in the spectrum of being ready versus still kind of learning the league as far as that goes on both of those fronts. I think they both had many positives to take away. They also had some clear spots to clean up in terms of if they're going to be at the league level and sustain that rotation level minutes.
The thing about Amir Coffey, to start with him, that was encouraging to me, he had a DNP against the Magic on Saturday. So he comes from not playing at all, and I was curious had he maybe fallen out of the rotation. They decided to go with a different look, but then he was ready. Right? They always say stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's exactly what Amir Coffey was able to do, and I think we'll see more from him. And I think that right now we're in this spot where it's like, look, this team is basically decimated by injury. We're going to throw some things out there and see what sticks. And last night, to see significant minutes from man, to see experimental lineups featuring man, the injuries, as tough as they are, it allows those guys to play through some of those mistakes that you alluded to, play through the things and learn in real time. And we saw it last night. Man had a mistake, brought the ball low, got it stolen from him a couple of plays, same position. He did it the right way after that. So I think that just taking those steps, you can only grow like that if you're on the court. And in the past, they didn't have the opportunity to do that because there was somebody else willing to come in. But now, all you got. So you're going to have to learn and kind of that trial by fire with those guys.
Trial by fire for sure.
Last thing, though, if you were about to transition.
No, I was, yes.
Jalen Green played the back-to-back.
He did.
It's good news.
That matters a whole lot for the skeptics of what his health is going to look like going forward and all of that. Please don't gloss over that part of it.
Well, we're going to go through a glossary of panic coming up after the break. From complete zen to losing your hair, all of us, all 5 members of this show are on a different part of the panic spectrum. We're going to unpack all of it and hopefully be your therapy session on the other side of our first break.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has over 90 million users worldwide. I'm one of them. You're one of them.
And you're one of the better ones at it too.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. I'm one of the more successful ones, but there's always time to turn around. And Bet365 live streams over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA and NHL. Bet365 has pioneered live in-game betting, and it offers a wide range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. I didn't know 78 sports existed, but Bet365 has all of those sports, and baseball season is coming up soon. So that'll be one you can get in the action on that as well. So new customers now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Those bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov.
You always want to multiply the good things in life, like when Gil reads ads, or when you can go on vacation, when you want to relax, when you want to celebrate. And with our friends over at the Arizona Lottery, multiplier scratchers are the perfect way to do that, because with over $270 million in prizes, you can win big enough to do more of the things that you love in life. Multiplier scratchers start at just $1 with prizes up to $5 million. I wish I had an extra $5 million right now. Or you can get into triple the fun with triple themed games like triple red sevens and triple cash payout scratchers for a chance to win top prizes of $100,000. And triple red sevens fast play has a progressive jackpot starting at $30,000. One of the Circle K's near me gave out the winning lottery ticket from Arizona Lottery.
Almost was you.
Can't win if you don't play. You can go play at any of the Circle K locations in over 3,500 retailers across the state. We're going to get into the panic meter here on PHNX Suns, but first, I'd be panicking if you didn't hit that like button, if you didn't hit that subscribe button, and if you didn't take advantage of our brand new Die Hard sale. We just gave you a discount on merch. How about a discount on a Die Hard membership? $36 for the year, courtesy, of course, of the PHNX Cardinals podcast going out to the Combine. You now get complete access to our draft guide, which is scouting reports, prospect breakdowns, and analysis, plus a free shirt of choice from the store. But when you become a diehard, even if you get it on the Combine deal, you also get all of the Suns coverage that we're providing for the diehards as well. Notebooks, power rankings, everything in between. Then when we get to the draft this summer, we'll be getting more draft previews and everything for basketball. So become a diehard now, take advantage now, and then reap the benefits later on. Gentlemen, I have been, I don't want to say shocked, but taken a little bit aback at some of the reactions to where the Phoenix Suns have been as of late. And I figured it was time for us to break out ye old panic meter. Now, we have 5 different levels of panic here, and if you'll notice, color coordinated appropriately. We're all at a different level. Steven is at complete zen. That would be a 1 out of 5.
Shocker.
I'm at pretty relaxed, which is the most.
That actually is a
That is
shocker.
the biggest
That's an
shocker.
actual shocker.
And that's the one I'm excited to
That
talk
is
about
growth.
later. Gil,
Please appreciate that, y'all.
Gil sits in the middle. He's also in the middle on the panic meter. He is appropriately measured. He's at a 3 out of 5. The freckled Mamba, shaken behind the Mac, feeling on edge, And Espo, he's not here because he's losing his hair. He's a 5 out of 5 on the panic meter. And I think that's where we need to start. Now, Espo went on and clarified a little bit about what his thinking is with why he's a 5. He says he's not worried about how they will look or how they look when they're healthy. He's just concerned about Ryan Dunn, Rasheer Fleming, and Kaman Malawach to be able to do enough until at least Haywood Highsmith can potentially help out, i.e., this team is injured. Can they survive while they're injured? Espo is not feeling good. He's at a 5 on the panic meter. I understand the feeling, Gil, even if I don't agree with it.
I do understand the feeling, because if you look at the glass, and I mentioned last night, I said it's not even half full. It's like maybe like a quarter of the way full, if that. But I think the big thing is that you find some comfort in maybe is that you've helped yourself. But where he's coming from as far as like, at this point, why would you believe anything's going to go in this team's favor?
Yes.
That's and I get that. Like, I understand, like, I was going back looking at some old shows, and the Hawks game, I regret saying this. I said, it feels so good to see this team at full strength. And less than 2 hours later, the team was no longer at full strength. And every time we say it feels like they take a step or two forward, they take 3 or 4 steps back. And that's exactly where we are right now. And they're racing against the clock. So when you think about the sense of like this team has just had this crazy run of bad luck that we keep waiting for it to end, and it hasn't ended, and there are less than 2 months left in the season, I completely understand why you'd be at a 5. But on the flip side, it's rooted in a lack of belief in these guys that we just talked about. And I think, Steven, it comes down to, can you believe in the work that they put in and those guys turning a corner when they're needed to?
Yeah, I think that's the tough part, because for some of the guys, either you just haven't seen them do it with the Suns, or you just haven't seen them do it at all
in their careers.
Yeah. The guys that haven't necessarily done it with the Suns, Haywood Highsmith, at some point we hope. Obviously, Amir Coffey, because we've hardly seen him play so far. He's still in the learning stages of what it is to be a Phoenix Sun in this season. And then obviously with the rookies, those guys just haven't done it in their careers quite yet. So this is their first true opportunity. What you hate for it to be in like a break glass in case of emergency situation where it's like, guys, we need you to eat these minutes up. You would rather be off of being one from their skill development. But here we are. You don't get to pick and choose when that opportunity is going to come. That's why, to your point earlier, you have to be in that stay ready team mindset so that when that opportunity comes, hit the ground running.
As the other crazy fan on this show, I'll step into Espo's shoes really quick here, because I think if you were talking to Eric a while ago, I probably would be closer to the 5.
How long ago was a while ago?
We'll leave that up for interpretation. And as a fan, I think that there's a lot of baggage that's coming with this 5, and it's baggage that I understand, right? Baggage part number 1 is that this team has always felt cursed as a fan perspective for so long. And there's been so much good with this team this year that you might feel, okay, is the other shoe about to drop? Which is not a reference that I fully understand. It's just kind of one of those things that's in like the English language that we all like accept. Does anybody know what that actually means?
I always imagine somebody getting out of like a high truck and like one
the other shoe drops.
I don't
Does
know.
anybody know what that means?
I don't know.
Freckled Mamba, do you know what that means?
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It gets the people going. It gets the
There you
people
go.
going. But it feels like we're kind of at this point where is the luck, right, of having a great season when you didn't expect it running dry. That, and just taking from what Espo has talked about on the show, this lack of edge at times the team has been playing with over the last couple of weeks in this poor stretch, basically since that Cavs Pistons stretch there where they played really well. It's been a little bit lackluster for a variety of reasons, and the 2 guys that they are now going to be missing for, in one case, 4 to 6 weeks, probably closer to 6 weeks with Dillon Brooks, and Jordan Goodwin for now, still an indefinite period of time, are the ones who bring that edge. We always talk about, like, Jordan Goodwin is the Dillon Brooks off the bench, and Dillon Brooks is the Dillon Brooks of this team. And so when you take all those things away, you start to wonder, like, sure, is it great that there is opportunity? Yes. Are the players ready for opportunity? Are they ready to continue to win? Because that cushion to the 8th seed is not like 5 games. You're 2.5 games above the Warriors, who, granted, are also dealing with their own injury struggles right now.
Yesterday without Steph.
Exactly. And without Draymond, and without Kristaps.
Yeah.
And so you're only 2.5 games above Golden State. You're 5 games above Portland, and you're 5.5 games above the 10th seed. Realistically, I don't know if there's enough time left in the season for them to drop out of the play-in, but if you drop down to 8, 9, or 10, the play-in becomes more difficult to navigate. And so when the margin for error is getting so thin and you're missing your guys that are bringing you your edge, I think there are a lot of fans who kind of feel like, okay, it was fun while it lasted, but the magic is gone with this Suns season, and I'm not talking about the team they beat in double overtime.
I think the compounding concern as far as that goes, and it's an undetermined answer right now, but who can bring the edge? Who can? Obviously, there's Jordan Goodwin is one of one. Dillon Brooks is one of one. And you can't replicate what they do, but can somebody else bring their own version of that? And I think that is more about the trust part, because we talked about the young guys, and if they play within themselves or play up to their potential, I think some of that will come with more opportunity for a Rashir or a man, but you can't just change somebody's temperament in the span of 4 or 5 weeks. So even if a guy is performing well, right, it's like, okay, but does this team have that edge? And Steven, I don't know if you see somebody capable of stepping up. And we talked like Dillon Jr. with Colin, but there's only but so much this team can do, because ultimately you got like, what, 10 guys available to you right now?
Yeah, so I think that goes back to my original point in bringing up the blue collar boy rankings, which ultimately evolved into the spectrum that we do, because it paints the picture of, okay, not just because the team might be doing well or somebody might have a good stretch of games or whatever the case may be. It's assessing your game-to-game approach, your impact on the game, and what that impact in turn does just for your team, the lineups you're on the floor with, and then in turn to your opponents in terms of dictating to them. We looked at the last blue collar spectrum, and we had like 7, 8 guys that were on the plus side of positive, or the plus side of the middle. I think that matters, because it might not necessarily be the 2 guys that are at the furthest of the bluest collar of guys, because those guys are out. But you have a guy like Colin, you have a guy like Royce, who I argue against everybody that should be a lot higher up for the ways in which he's gone about doing his job. The I'll do it approach. I know we talk about it all the time. People on Twitter don't seem to want to look at the I'll do it perspective when it comes to Royce, because everybody wants to pay attention to blow by rate. What about him guarding Alfred and Şengün? What about him guarding all these other 5s that allows for Dillon to go guard the point of attack, which keeps their defensive shell intact? And now they see success and they go and win games and they win in stretches. They compile those kills and kill shots that we always talk about. Like, that stuff matters. I think Royce can be leaned into more. How much production does that take away from him in other capacities because he's compensating for something that's lacking remains to be seen. But you got a batch of blue-collar boys, and everybody can kind of mix up their roles because of that. I think the other part of that, too, with the blue-collar part, the coaching staff. We talked about the coaching staff being blue-collar guys. They have to adjust and adapt their approach and game plan and their feel and kind of look at the game in real time, because this is not the roster that they have been typically assessing things from.
So since this is Espo's point, and this is a question that he asked us when he was with us a few days ago, and I've thought about it more, and it makes sense in what we're talking about right now, and I ask you guys again, even if it's temporarily, can you see a team realistically or sustainably for 3 to 5 weeks of time kind of change their identity a little bit and just play differently based on who's available to them to kind of adjust to, because I mean, you can say this group has different strengths, and I think that the viability of being able to do that determines whether or not a 5 is justified, or if that's something they should even want to do, to not be as blue collar of a team, because your bluest of blue collars aren't really available right now.
I don't think it's realistic for a team to shift their identity, especially at this point in the season. Your habits are your habits. Habits in play, habits in identity, habits in the culture that you're working to establish. I don't think those things go away. I think what maybe shifts a little bit is, okay, the starting lineup had its own identity, which was more offensive minded. The reserve units had its own identity, which was more defensive minded. When you start to mix and match those lineups within your rotation, that's where you get the goods that have made this Suns team so dominant, especially on the defensive end and in the blue-collar margin areas of the game. What I think shifts now is, instead of leaning into your reserves to be the group that's bringing that pressure all the time, maybe it's something that you get to out the gate. Maybe it's not always just picking up full court. Maybe you get into something like 2-2-1 full court, where you got 2 guys and then you got layers of it, and then you're getting into your defensive shell in a half court. Maybe it's playing a little bit of zone on defense, but upping the ante on pressure and kind of thinking outside the box to still get to what made you a good team, but just doing it in a more unique way.
I think Kaylee makes a good point.
Uniquer is crazy, bro.
When you talk for this much time as for a living, you just say things that don't really make sense.
I don't know where that came
We're
from. I
inventing
never
words
used
today.
that word in my life.
Well, now add it to the lexicon. Kaylee says, we also don't want to deplete the energy or health of available players and leave them more susceptible to injury in the postseason. I do wonder with Jordan Goodwin suffering a calf strain, he's had to do a lot, play a lot in the way that he plays, a lot more than we all expected him to be. Even if you thought he was going to be in a positive part of this team, I don't think anybody expected him to play this much, this often, and be this important. And so you're wondering, did that take a toll? As really the only soft tissue injury that we're talking about here, obviously minus Jalen Green's hamstring, which happened back in the preseason. And so I think that's an important note of like, who's going to be stepping up and taking those minutes? Well, I think the good news is a lot of these guys that are for the Dillon Brooks side of things are players that haven't been getting as many minutes, like a Ryan Dunn, who's played less minutes recently, and a Rasheer Fleming, who has not been in the rotation, Amir Coffey, who did not play a ton for Milwaukee, or maybe when Haywood Highsmith comes back, he's a guy who's got very fresh legs. Hopefully those fresh legs aren't too rusty coming off of his knee surgery in the offseason. And so I think there is a concern for what are the long-term ramifications of having to pick up for some of the guys that you're missing here. And I think that before we hit a break here, we should hit number 4 on this, because Ayrton is not pulling out his hair, but he is feeling on edge. And I'll let him explain a little bit why he's fallen on this side of the meter.
I am feeling on edge for 2 main reasons. And usually I'm pretty calm and collected, but with all the injuries that happened earlier in the year, I kind of viewed the back half of the season, like after the All-Star break, as the chance for the Suns to make that push for the 6th seed and try and get out of the play-in. Without Dillon, I can't really see that happening anymore. And my second reason kind of falls into that is the Mr. Consistence. We're missing Dillon Brooks and Jordan Goodwin right now, and those two have been probably 2 of our more consistent players this entire year. And in tandem with those 2 that I said, like I said, I really can't see us making that push. So can you guys tell me why I should feel like I think that we can make that push?
No. We're screwed. I think it is unfortunate when it comes to the push, and the goalpost has kind of been moved so often this season. And obviously, like, we're up here and we're always talking about it. It's okay, get fully healthy a month before the trade deadline with Jalen Green coming back from his hamstring, right? And see what you have with Jalen Green before the trade deadline. Okay, and then more injuries happen. It's like, okay, just make it to the trade deadline, post-trade deadline, let's go. Let's try to get, this team together health-wise. And then you've got other injuries happening. And now you're here and you're a month and a half away from the postseason, and Dillon Brooks is out for probably a month and a half. And so I think there is a certain ceiling of what we're going to be able to see this team be from like a reps perspective that I do think can play into feeling on edge. And I don't think that your feelings are based in not in reality, Ayrton, because I think that losing that time in that ramp up period, I think does limit the ceiling of this team. I would say the positive though is that they have found ways to strive when we thought that they couldn't do that before. And there's a chance that maybe they pick up a couple of positives as far as some of the rotation pieces we've talked about before, guys finding their own game, or possibly having fresh legs for the playoffs, which might overcome some of the chemistry that you're going to be missing over this next month and a half that you wish you could build.
I think the thing that, a lot of what you were saying and a lot of what Ayrton was saying is injury based. And I think that the understanding of like kind of being a little bit further on that end and further away from the middle than I am is the big unknown. And obviously the big picture unknown is Dillon Brooks, but also knowing that, hey, Devin Booker is going to get reevaluated in a few days. And we have no idea if reevaluation for him means, oh, we're waiting longer, or he's ready to go, he's ready to play, he's ready to roll, he can't make this any worse, let's go. And same thing with Grayson Allen. So long as it's not a back-to-back, he should be available and ready to go. And I think if you think about last night's game and last night's showing, as much as we want to flush it away, if you add just those 2 guys while still not having your 2 blue-collar guys, your best defenders available, you ain't scoring 77 points, I can tell you that much. And that should make life way easier for Jalen Green and get him out of those struggles. But again, I think that being on edge is knowing that, look, this team hasn't had any reasons to be optimistic about that in the past, so why be optimistic this time? But it's just kind of like, I recognize that, but maybe I can sway you back my way, Ayrton, if I can just say, hey, listen, these guys could be back soon.
Yeah, I mean they've shown to be able to adapt, adjust, and figure things out on the fly in respect to an individual game and kind of changing the course of or trajectory of what is going on to storm back and win against a multitude of opponents. We've seen them adjust to stay ahead of teams. We've seen them adjust in the season and their approach to things and get guys in better positions to be successful and learn from, guys being in those spots going forward. So obviously urgency is a big word here as you're in the post All-Star break stretch, you're in the home stretch of the rest of the season. You can kind of see the playoffs in the horizon. You're not quite firmly in that, but you do have playoff or you have postseason aspirations in some capacity. You just got to get there. And I think they've shown enough to kind of have that trust, even if it is kind of dwindling a little bit. I think they've shown enough to kind of show that they should be given that vote of confidence.
Despite what some of the discourse has said around this team, they're also very well coached. And maybe there are parts of this team that are worrying. I know we were a lot of conversations about how the big men aren't getting involved, right? Or sometimes like, hey, why are we leaving people open for three? Things like that. Okay, I get it. Maybe they're not a perfect team, but this is a very well-coached team. This is a team that's bought into what their coaching staff has given them and has asked of them. And that overcomes a lot of things, like how vice versa, if that wasn't happening, it would make it a lot worse. And so with this chemistry problem and making a push problem, if they are able to make it to the play-in, which I think we all agree they will, or the playoffs, which is becoming a little bit more murky, coaching matters a lot, and adjustments matter a lot, and a team listening to those things matters a lot. I think that can also be an edge that the Suns have come that time of the season.
And the other thing for me is, which I agree with what you said, but the teams ahead of them still got to handle their business too.
True.
Like it's not just incumbent on the Suns to be the ones that are handling their business. There's some teams that the Suns have the tiebreaker with that are ahead of them right now. Mm-hmm. They're within striking distance of pretty much everybody that's not the number 2 seed and the number 1 seed in the West right now. So I think that shuffling of the deck and the potential of musical chairs taking on even a more extreme extent in this post All-Star big stretch matters, and that could be something that helps the Suns in this kind of moment in time where they're without some of their top tier pieces.
2 games behind Minnesota and LA. Those are 2 teams that you have the tiebreaker over currently.
And I want to make sure we use the choice of words earned.
Yeah.
They got it out the mud against both of those teams.
You've got a game against the Lakers coming up here shortly, so that's going to be a very important game.
Absolutely.
And you're only 2.5 games behind the Houston Rockets for the 4th seed. Mm-hmm. Now, do we think that the Suns are going to be able to string together their best stretch of basketball over the next month and a half? I think that is where you can maybe start getting into like la-la land. I'm not saying it's impossible, but obviously it's going to be an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. But you're right, Steven. There's a lot still on the table. They're only 3 games back from the 3 seed. Now, I know people don't want to hear that because right now it's doomsday, but it was just last month in January that they had one of the best months out of anybody in the NBA, right? And it was just this month that they've had some pretty high peaks and some high moments. And their schedule does get a little bit easier, which I think leads us now to the 3, the 2, and the 1 on our panic meter. We're going to continue to calm down on PHNX Suns, and we'll do it on the other side of our second break.
I'm a Carolina guy, and I'm going to get a taste of home because NASCAR racing is coming out to the Valley. You already know Phoenix is one of the best sports cities in America, and this spring is going to another level as NASCAR and NTT IndyCar Series are racing during the same weekend at Phoenix Raceway. Not the same time, but the same weekend, and you can get a front row seat to it all. You can get the best access in motorsports. Go inside the garage, walk the track, meet the drivers, and catch the pre-race concert. No sport brings fans closer. None at all. None at all.
No sport.
You can upgrade to the Desert Diamond Casino infield experience to do all of that. Ticket options, hillside view for the Cup race, race weekend packages that make the planning easy. Witness the action, and there's 3 packed days of racing. The 2026 Spring NASCAR Weekend at Phoenix Raceway is making history, and it'll be there from March 5th through 8th at Phoenix Raceway. You can see your tickets below at the link in our description.
Look, we love our friends over at Phoenix Raceway. If you want to be like the race cars and drive fast, you might need a Corvette. And you can win a Corvette over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Go ahead, do it.
Vroom, vroom, Corvette, Corvette.
There you go.
There.
That's exactly what I was waiting for. You got, yes, Gil's not
Got
only
him.
reading ads, but he's got the Steven head shake. But I'm never shaking my head over at Gila River Resorts Casinos because they have Vegas vibes in Phoenix from now through April. The Vegas residency at Gila River Resorts Casinos brings the energy, attitude, and excitement of Las Vegas right to you. I'm talking exclusive concerts, extended DJ sets, chef-driven dining, pop-up bars, surprise cameos, plus, of course, like I mentioned, the fabulous Corvette giveaway from now until April 24th. 4 casinos, 4 Corvettes, 4 chances to win big. Wild Horse Pass, Vequiva, Lone Butte, and Santan Mountain. Steven, we saw the Corvette when we walked into Wild Horse Pass.
Nice.
Icy.
That was I think that's like the color Corvette that you would want, huh?
Close to it.
Pretty close to it. That nice,
Close.
that nice bright blue, 4 different Corvettes, and of course, giveaways on April 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Don't miss your chance to accelerate into luxury. Play, earn, and win at any of their 4 casino locations today. Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. A couple of comments from the chat I'd like to address here. Comment number 1 from AZ Soldier 5208. Thank you, AZ Soldier. Says, I'm at a 10 on that panic meter because I've been talking a lot of shit to my coworkers about the Suns all year.
That's fair.
Just wait. Let them get their licks in. Let them get their responses in, and you just hold on to
Get
that.
the last laugh. Don't
And
worry
then-
about who's laughing right now.
Everybody
Worry about
tough
getting the
when
last
they up.
laugh.
And then a comment from my beautiful, lovely, amazing wife, Megan, who says, Eric, I just bought us a coffee table that you need to pick up after work. One,
With the smiling emoji.
one,
It must be a nice coffee table.
the last time that we bought a piece of furniture and we had to move it in my car, we couldn't get it out of my car, and it took days to get out, and we had to disassemble it inside my car and then reassemble it. Why do we have to pick it up in my car? You have a bigger car. I'll figure it out later. Anyway, let's keep on going down the panic meter. My panic meter on the coffee table is high because I don't want this thing to be stuck in my car.
But think about how nice the coffee table
I
has
will
to
be excited. We have some coffee table books. Like we need a coffee table, right? So it's a good thing. I'm like
Perfect.
I'm like at a 3.5 on the panic meter when it comes to the
My excitement meter for you.
Okay, she says we can use her car. Okay, cool.
There you go.
Cool.
I was gonna say we need a supplemental video on how that goes.
Members only?
Members only.
Well, we'll have a watch along tomorrow. I'll detail all of it like I told you all
Perfect.
about my concussion on the last one. Let's explore the calmness of the middle of the panic meter, Gil. You are appropriately measured. Now you're not complete zen and you're not pretty relaxed, which means that there is some concern, but not to the point where it's at all overwhelming.
See, as I put it last night, I know where the panic button is. I got my eye on it, and I like reached forward, but I was like, "No, I'm cool." But I'm looking at it, and that's kind of where I am right now, right in the middle, because I am not ignorant to what's going on right now. I recognize that Grayson Allen's in and out of the lineup, and he's dealing with some injuries. I recognize that Devin Booker is out for hopefully just a few more days, but that's not guaranteed. Dillon Brooks is out for a while. Jordan Goodwin's out. We don't know when we're going to see Haywood Highsmith. That is impossible to ignore, and I will recognize that. But I also recognize that this team has earned itself some goodwill. We're freaking out about a team that's 8 games over 500 after a really bad slump, right?
Yeah.
And I also recognize and understand why we're freaking out about the fact that the Celtics are potential Eastern Conference contender, Eastern Conference contender that could come out of the East, will be here tomorrow. And the Lakers, who beat up on teams when they are in similar positions to where the Suns are right now, are coming in Thursday. I don't necessarily think that I believe in that team, but I also recognize that they are kind of ones that like to bully on those who aren't there at full strength right now. But on the other side of that stretch, if you can just get through that, maybe steal one, fight through that, whoever's getting healthier, there's a stretch of games that you can take advantage of. And we've talked about it before, and it's a 6-game stretch. It's the Kings, the Bulls, the Pelicans, Hornets who are playing really good basketball, Bucks, and Pacers. Now, if you come out of this, and let's just say you lose these next 2 and you're 33-27 through 60 games, which had you told any of us that before the season, you're feeling pretty good about it.
Sure.
If you can somehow get 4 of those games, which I think it is very doable, especially if some guys get healthier, well, you're back to being 37 and 20, whatever it is, 37, 29. You know what I'm saying? Through 66 games. So I think it's just, listen, the small picture is very dire right now, but lucky for this team, the season doesn't end after 58 games. And that's kind of why I'm in the middle of it and just trying to be even keeled about it, because I recognize the bad, but I also recognize that there is some sunshine at the end of that. There's a rainbow at the end of the storm, potentially.
and you know could potentially be returning once that stretch of games comes, your best player. And I imagine Grayson Allen
I'm
is
sure
back.
Jordan Goodwin's still going to be out at that point.
And I also imagine Grayson Allen is back in some capacity. Probably only missed the last game because of the back-to-back nature coming from the injury that he just had with the sprained ankle that came from shoot around against the Spurs on Thursday. So you're getting closer and closer incrementally to health. I think the perspective we have on this team and the night-to-night expectations we have, that ceiling and that floor are both raised in succession with one another if Devin Booker and Grayson Allen are available for them. I think that helps to stabilize and give their offense a little bit more of the identity that they're akin to wanting to play to, specifically in the half court. And then defensively, it just gives you a couple of more guys who understand what your process is, have been underratedly good with their help defense, and what that enables guys to do getting closer to full strength in your process that you've enjoyed.
Gil, you and I are pretty close on this. So you and I were deciding kind of like who's going to be more 3, who's going to be more 2, because we're pretty close on this. And I think everything that you said is completely accurate. And what my problem is, I think, with some of the more skewed negative thoughts on all of this is the fact that this team is 8 games above 500 right now. And I feel like they really have earned a lot of goodwill. Now, I know they're not going to have good win, but they've had a lot of good wins so far this season. And at the end of the day, this has been such a fun year. And every season, even the most fun seasons, have dips and have valleys. And it just feels like right now is one of those for the Suns. Look at the New York Knicks in January and late December, basically the post-cup to like about a couple of weeks ago. The season was completely over.
Remember what I said when they played them? I was like, why is everybody panicking about this team in December and January?
And there's a fanatics part of this, right? And Steven, you're at the complete Zen part, and we'll unpack you and I's spot on this a little bit later. But as a fan, I think it is sometimes really hard for an 82-game season to just not be able to get your head above water when it feels like you're drowning. And I understand that. And there are things that are happening and there's stakes now at this point. This has been a fun season, but let's be honest here. We're about to head into March and there are stakes with this team. It's not championship or bust, but if this team wasn't playing in the playoffs right now, I'd be pretty disappointed, right? If they lose out of the play-in and they're not playing postseason basketball this year, I'll be disappointed. I'm not personally worried about that happening right now, but I do think that the weight of the expectations is why, even for a measured fan, you start looking at some of the negatives that are happening, the inability to stay healthy, the recent slide, some of the good teams that you'll be playing, even when you have a quote-unquote easier schedule. And if we're being honest here, when you look at a guy like Colin Gillespie, who has been great, seems like he's just been asked to do a little bit too much. How much longer can he continue to keep this team above water in the ways that he's been able to? Mark Williams is somebody who it feels like the last couple of months now we've been having these conversations about like, ooh, there are maybe some flaws in his game and maybe how the Suns use him and not just solely falls on him that we're seeing, I don't want to say exposed, but come to light that weren't showing up at the beginning of the season through the first couple of months, right? You start to see these things and they become more real when there are expectations that are weighing over them. But having Devin Booker only being out for hopefully a week. Grayson Allen, I think the interesting part to what you're saying, Steven, is that he was on the injury report for right ankle and knee management, which obviously he came back from that knee injury, but he was questionable for the back-to-back, and I think being in double overtime is really what ended up pushing that over.
Because the energy he exerted
exactly.
And against a physical team, no less, too.
Sure.
I just think that this team has shown so much. They've earned so much goodwill, but it's almost like, Steven, that goodwill is beginning to become a burden on some fans. And I don't expect you to feel that way because I don't think that's not the hat that you wear, but as somebody who does wear that hat, I can see that not just on like people on Twitter or trolls, but like my friends, Suns fans in my life. It's like, this isn't just a fun season anymore. Like this is a season that's supposed to have a relatively happy ending.
I mean, hate to break the news, but there's nothing guaranteed about the happy ending part. Only one team is going to be happy.
That's why I said relatively.
No, I'll take that back.
Relatively
there's two teams for very opposite sides of the spectrum in reasoning they will be happy this season.
And for that being said, Yusuf Nurkic out for the season.
Mm.
Face surgery.
Yeah, tough. Having a hell of a season. Back to the Suns though.
Come back home, Yusuf.
Back to the Suns though. Like I just like, and I understand fandom for sure. If you see me watch the Ravens, like you would understand that. And I say that because you can't overreact or not overreact. You can't be so reactionary to every stop of the season. 82 games is that's a marathon and then some. Like you just have to, I know it's going against your conventional wisdom at times, but you just got to press the patient button. Let's see what's on the other side of this. The team is showing you that they figured things out after having a bad spell or a 2 or 3 or 4 game spell where they left a little bit to be desired. We've even seen them win games where they've left a lot to be desired. So that them being able to win games on so many different types of terms is where I kind of just find some confidence in being patient and seeing that they'll likely figure it out no different than they've done pretty much all season long.
Figuring out is something that comes to my mind too. And I think about what's happening right now. I think it would be more concerning if it was inexplicable. And that's kind of what we did have going into the break a little bit, but there was even an explanation for that where it's like this team seems flat. Yeah, probably because guys have been playing outside of themselves for 50 plus games and they thought that they would slide back and have to do less. And it's just like, yeah, you probably were capable or equipped to step up outside of yourself for 30, 35 games. Now that wears, but I think thinking about what we just saw yesterday, yeah, it makes sense that a team without 4 guys that play heavy minutes and play a massive role for this team weren't available.
They score a lot of points.
And they score a lot of points.
And get a lot of assists.
And they get a lot of assists. They do a lot.
They have
defense too. Yeah.
And they do a lot of defense.
100 points responsible in offense sitting on the bench.
Like genuinely, if you take there's probably 25 or 26 teams in the NBA. If they're missing their equivalent of those 4 players, they're going to be the exact same situation. And there's only 3 or 4 teams. And I think about the Nuggets who've dealt with a lot of adversity this year and found ways to win. The Thunder who have dealt with a lot of adversity and found ways to win in spots. And guess what? Those teams are expecting to be one of the last teams standing. So yeah, that just shows this team is not ready to compete for a championship now. I guess, is that breaking news? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's very apt and appropriate for the tier that this team is at. And the other part of it too is, listen, that was unexpected. Like all this stuff is happening. Like they didn't have time to adjust on this. You come out of the All-Star break thinking you're finally at full strength, and then that happens and it's taken away from you in the span of 2 games. And now they're readjusting. You talked about the coaching staff. You don't think they're going to be ready for this, maybe after these next 2 games because they're going to be really tough. But for however long the absences of these guys are going to be, this group is ultimately going to be prepared where they're probably going to steal a game or 2 that you don't expect them to get. And if they can just stay even and stay 6 or 7 games or 8 games above 500, then they'll be okay. And I think that's just where it is right now, where they've built themselves that cushion. Just take a deep breath and just trust the work, trust the team.
Oh, we're going to be taking deep breaths. We're going to eventually reach complete zen. I feel like we've gotten little tastes of it so far, of Steven being like, but calm down. I will say, before we hit a break, I have a question for you. Are the panic button and the patient button, are they next to each other? Do they look similar? Could I accidentally press the panic button instead of the patience button? Are they different rooms?
You asking me?
Yeah, you. I mean, you're the only one who knows where the patience button is.
You are going to be aligned.
Is there an aligned button?
I mean, there's 3 of them.
So there's 3 buttons. Okay. There's a panic button, there's a patience button, and then there's an aligned button. Am I only allowed to press one button? I can't press patience and aligned?
Nope.
Pick a side.
Yeah,
Then I'm pressing the aligned button.
I think aligned
Right?
is the most positive you can be. Patient is in the middle, and then the panic button is obviously.
I'm pressing all 3 at the same time and seeing.
Of course
See what happens.
Because
Yeah, just see what happens.
Of course you are. Of
Get
course.
involved with that.
Yeah, I'll definitely get involved with that. Espo in the chat says, just feels like a curse with all the injuries. Ironically enough, Espo, that actually plays into why I'm feeling relaxed. And I'll tell you why on the other side of our final break. Write down this number right now, 602-783-8841. That is the number to the husband and wife law team, because you never know when life is going to throw you a curveball, an accident, or a serious injury. Hell, we've seen it affect the Suns seemingly out of nowhere. Well, it can also happen to everyday people as well. And you want to call a number that brings you a team with hundreds of years of combined trial experience, and that's exactly what Mark and Alexis Breyer's team brings. Plus multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death. They actually go to trial. They're prepared to do it in case your case determines that has to happen. Plus, they're happy to make you and all your clients guarantees. Like, you can guarantee to cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. You'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they reduce their attorney's fee to do so. They guarantee you'll be able to speak to one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything you'd like to discuss. You'll always feel taken care of, and they'll always tell you the strengths and the weaknesses of your case so that you can make an informed decision. So the answer is clear. Call 602-783-8841, the Husband and Wife Law Team, or visit your website at the link in our show notes and tell them that PHNX sent you.
Now, if you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel that you need. Snapbacks, truckers, fitted hats, beanies, t-shirts. Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. Partnerships with over 40 universities, including ASU, U of A, and my Wake Forest Demon Deacons.
There you go.
Shout out to them as part of the campus collection. And of course, Branded Bills also partners with the Phoenix Suns. You can get those over at the Morgue on game day. It's a local company from Mesa, Arizona. And of course, here at PHNX, we love local. And you can head to brandedbills.com right now. Tell them that we sent you. Use the code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
I mean, the thing I love about Branded Bills, they partner with us.
Exactly.
So you can go get your own PHNX Branded Bills hat on our website as well. And they're so nice and comfortable too.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it.
Tell them Eric sent you.
Thank you all for hanging out with us, talking about Panic Meter. We will get to Complete Zen, so make sure that your Apple Watch is tracking your heartbeat. Take deep breaths, drink a nice cold glass of water. And let's get into why I'm feeling pretty relaxed by all of this, which is not usually words that people use to describe me either together or independently. And I want to take Espo's
Self-aware,
comment.
though. We'll
Yeah, thank you. I want to take, usually it's just devilishly handsome. I want to take Espo's comment of, it just feels like we're cursed with all the injuries, and why I'm feeling pretty relaxed. If we're cursed, which I know it kind of feels like it is, and it's written in the stars and the basketball gods don't want us to succeed, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is written. Fine. But here's the thing.
What's up? Took that out of my brain.
The reason why I'm feeling pretty relaxed by all of this is kind of a combination of a lot of the things that we've already talked about. But just to kind of give my perspective, because again, I think if you were to poll 100 PHNX Suns fans at the beginning of the season, ask about who would be crashing out the most if the Suns hit a valley during the season, 100 of them would pick me. Like that's kind of like my shtick, even though it's not a shtick, it's just who I am.
You are.
I, for some reason, cannot get upset, worried, or mad at this team beyond like individual plays and games in the moment. Like if you go to a watch along with me and something stupid happens, I will be like, I'll be mad. I'll be talking about it. My head will be in my hands. Like I am as fanatical as it gets during the games, right? And that's every game for every sport that I'm a fan of, whether it's preseason or
Never
the finals.
change.
That's just who I am. But like last night, like I said, I could care less that they lost because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, this is a team that is still 8 games above 500. They've given me so many fun moments. We just had a buzzer beater for Jalen Green over the weekend.
Literally 2 days ago.
The first team to win a game in like 3 years shooting under 35% from the field. You've got other games like the Devin Booker game winner against OKC, the Colin Gillespie floater against Minnesota when Book and Brooks and Jalen Green roll out obviously at the end of that game. You've had the Jordan Goodwin offensive rebound where he got fouled and he hit the free throw. You've got blowouts against the Pistons and the Cavs without your best players on the court. Like, this team has provided so much joy for me this year, and I truly believe in the vision. Meatloaf said, I'm happy that the vision is working out. You can't really control injuries. Everything the Suns have been able to control this year has been an outright net positive. And for that, as a fan, I'm feeling pretty relaxed because even though we don't have all of our picks, even though there's questions about what will this team look like in the future, questions about the draft picks that they took over the summer, I have faith that the people in charge are doing the right thing. I have faith in the roster construction, and I've got faith in these players, man. And they've shown that they've earned it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm worried at all in February because of injuries. But as we get closer to March and April and we get to the play-in or the playoffs, and if some of the things that we're dealing with now we're still dealing with, then I'll change my tune. But it's February. How many times has a team won a championship in February?
I don't think it's ever happened.
How many teams has a time lost a championship in
I also
February?
don't think that's ever happened.
How many times has a team missed the playoffs in February?
Very few instances. And
That
that's
was
so
Yeah,
far
like-
no,
from
I know
that.
what you're saying.
So far from that.
Basically, what I'm saying is if you look at every single team that's around where the Suns are in both conferences, they have probably had a very similar stretch to this.
Mhm.
The Houston Rockets have had a stretch where they've just been straight up
Losing to bad
Bad.
teams.
bad. The Lakers have had stretches where they're just straight up bad. Minnesota, recently, by the way, has been on a majority losing streak.
Man, and got yammed on.
And Ant did get dunked on by Tyrese Maxey.
Ooh-wee.
The 76ers have had low moments. The Raptors have had low moments, right? The Orlando, like these are teams that are around.
Oklahoma City had a little more.
Oklahoma, Detroit Pistons have the best record in the NBA right now, right? To me, there's just this voice in the back of my head that's like, just enjoy the ride. And that's why I'm feeling pretty relaxed. But I will say this. That panic is kind of looking at me like the Green Goblin mask a little bit.
My goodness.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're having another podcast like this at the end of April, that I will not be in the pretty relaxed state. But right now, Steven, I think you'll be proud of me. Feeling good.
I am proud of you. That's how I was gonna start when the ball got passed to me.
Sorry, I
Very
had to
proud
ISO
of
there
you.
for a second.
Oh, you all good. You was cooking. That is such a bit of growth because for the team to be, if this team was in this situation last season, I don't think we would have got the same response.
But I don't think they would have earned the same response. That's kind of the difference.
that's real.
Is that
That's
growth
real.
from me or growth from the
I
franchise?
think both things can be true.
Fair
I think
enough.
both things can be true. I
Me
think
trying to not give myself credit for this.
I would like to think there's a little bit of Steven that's rubbed off on Eric as far as
I would
that
agree
goes.
with that.
And
We're
I'm
making
proud
things
of
better.
that. I'm for sure. I'm just trying to make it more fun to be a sports fan. And I think Eric, you've grown a lot in that.
Thank you.
The three things that I kind of rest on, especially when a team is met with resistance or met with adversity or met with an inflection point. What is your culture? The Suns, you can't have a culture without having finished a full season, but we see the foundation that they're laying. What is your identity? They've clearly shown by way of their identity that they can go and get wins and do so with all the odds stacked against them, without their best player, without their second best player for a possession or two against the Western Conference elite, and go and handle their business there, both at home and on the road. And then the other part is style of play. So style of play, identity, and the culture that they're establishing. When you get met with adversity, resistance, you have to rest on something. And where inconsistencies typically come from is when you have a team that's resting on talent. Man, hopefully our talent, we got the best player on the court more often than not. Hopefully that's going to help us just get over the hump. No, you double down on your principles, your process, the things that have shown you your route to success. And you get back in alignment with those things as much as you possibly can. And usually on the other side of getting back in alignment, there are bits of positivity that you can take and apply forward once you do hopefully get back to full health. And then you kind of start to see the dust settle on what the standings are, and you figure out what your postseason is going to look like.
And that's why you're at complete zen?
Well, no, I was just answering for you. We'll get to me soon.
So you saying something, and I got curious as you said that about every team that's in playoff or has high hopes this year has had some type of stretch that's concerning. And then I got curious. The Suns have played 25 games since the calendar flipped to 2026. Do you know how many teams in that stretch, or how many games they've played in that stretch against teams that if the season ended right now would not be playing in the postseason?
4.
3.
6 games. So 19 of the 25.
Well, 2 against Brooklyn.
Two
right?
against
So
Brooklyn,
some of the
right.
same
So, yeah,
teams.
some of the same
Ah,
teams.
Two
Yeah,
against
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brooklyn.
Okay.
But 6
okay.
games. 6 of 25
Got it.
games.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Who
What was the window again?
Since
From the beginning of the year?
It's a calendar year flip. The Kings was
Oh,
the first
Wizards?
game of
The Kings,
Wizards, yeah.
legendary
Wizards, so that's
Yeah.
4. Kings, that's 5.
And to the Mavericks as well.
And so that's how I have in the 5.
So So
Missing one. Who's the other one?
So it was the Kings, Grizzlies.
Grizzlies.
Yeah,
That's right,
Grizzlies.
yeah.
And then this recent stretch, and the team has lost, 6 of 9.
Mhm.
The Mavericks are the only team in that stretch that this team has played. So, yeah, basically what's happening to this team is they are shorthanded playing against teams who are good teams for a reason. And we said this about the Suns in late
Mhm.
November. take advantage when you are seeing somebody. Don't feel sorry for them. Listen, this is the NBA. Kick them while they're down. And that's exactly what's been happening to this Suns team as of late. So I think that is, again, just very important context that not only is this a tough stretch, and I think that I'll be way more concerned about things if the Suns were at full strength and they were playing against teams like the Nets and the Grizzlies and the Jazz and the Kings, who respectfully are just focused on the future, and you're not finding ways to win against them. Back to the fact that this isn't inexplicable, it's also not inexplicable because, hey, you're shorthanded and you're playing against teams that are at full strength, that are playing for the bigger picture and are trying to help themselves against you. I think the one of those games that was the worst was the Warriors one, because they were so shorthanded and you let that one go and let that one slip away. That's a big regret, especially knowing that they're right on your heels as the 8th seed. But other than that, like the list, and I'm sure we can count on one hand this year of games that you would like to get back. And I think that in the course of 82-game season, everybody has games they would like to get back. And there are teams that the Suns have beaten this year that probably would have liked to get those games back as well. So that's just part of the ebbs and flows of 82-game season.
Steven, we've worked our way down from losing your hair to feeling on edge to appropriately measured to pretty relaxed. And I think it's only fitting that at the end of this show, we take a deep breath and we reach complete zen with SPG.
Well, that's what I planned on doing to start. So let's go ahead and close our laptops. If you're at home and you have some sage to burn, can't give you enough time to go do that, but that's something that would definitely be helpful with this. So,
you're in control of that.
That's fair.
If you're driving, close your eyes.
No, that's not what I said, dude. That is not what I said, dude. But yes, if you're capable and able, you should close your eyes, breathe in and inhale, hold for 3 seconds, and then exhale. And rinse and repeat as often as you need until you're able to work your way from the extremist of extremes back down to grounding and being present. And I say that because coming into this season, even the craziest, most outside-the-box projections for the Suns didn't see anybody that had them as a 7 seed, yet alone flirting with being just outright in the playoffs this season. That part matters for me. Part number 2 that matters for me. Look at the last couple of games. You got a double overtime game, and then you also have a game against a team that can't put the ball in the basket in Portland. Both of those games, the Suns held those teams to significantly low volume of points scored. What side of the basketball is it that this team's identity rests most on? I think we would say the defensive end of the floor. They have a top 5 defense. With so many pieces out of the rotation because of injury and whatnot, they still continue to have the impact from the defensive end of the floor. I go back to style of play, identity, the culture they're establishing. Those last 2 games, the scores that they've been up against, right in alignment with where they want to be at. Now, the offensive side is where a lot of the things they'll have to solve will come from, naturally, when you're missing so many points and assists and secondary assists and double teams and all of that stuff with those guys that are not in the lineup. The last part I wanted to get to, when you look at this team and you're paying close attention to where they are in the standings, we talked about their 2.5 games from the fourth seed right now. Was that, Eric?
Yeah.
Houston?
Believe.
Just to double check so we're speaking accurately on those numbers.
You threw me off. I was in a zen state.
My bad, bro.
Yeah, we are 2.5 games
behind
the Houston Rockets for home court advantage in the Western Conference.
Okay, so I would say by definition, with 24 games left, that's called striking distance. And you've seen the lack of injury luck be on your side. It's no guarantee that on the other side of guys coming back that it will stay in your favor going forward, but other teams have things that they have to deal with as well. Stay the course. Just stay the course. If they just play 500 basketball the rest of the way, that's going to get them to where they're at right now, which is the 6th or the 7th seed. Now, when you start chipping away at getting a game or 2 or 3 games over 500, especially depending on what teams you beat in succession with that, that's where you find your route to success and getting out of the play-in and just outright into the playoffs. And for a team that had the lack of expectations coming into the season that they did have, I just can't be mad and I can't be stressing and panicking about where they're at right now over the last couple of games, especially for the ways in which they lost those games. They didn't lose those games because of a lack of defense. They didn't lose those games because of a lack of them showing a lot of the qualities that they've typically shown to. Might be one game where it's down a little bit, like against San Antonio, but they typically get right back on the course and train, and then what happens from there happens. Last part, you're missing all of that offense, man. And I've said it before, but that's a lot of creation you're missing. Defense can be you can play the best defense of all time. If you can't put the ball in the basket, it's hard to win games. And I think that's the part that's been missing for them more than anything else.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with all of that. I think that the expectation part is big. I think that it's important to think about the significance of the number 3, or I guess the number 3, number 4. What is it right now? Number 4 right now. Well, number 3 would be to tie last year's win total. Number 4 would be to surpass it.
Yeah.
And we are.
I'm sorry, that's the funniest thing, dude.
Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny.
When each game they get closer, I laugh at that.
And it's.
I haven't even thought about that all year.
No, I know,
oh my
right?
God.
It's such a privilege to be able to adjust your expectations, and that's what being a fan is all about. But I've said this before, and we've said this before, it's completely within your right as a fan to be upset and expect more and demand more from your team and want to win games. But the other two parts that I want to not lose sight of is, one, to not take this team and what they've done and how they've exceeded expectations and been such a good story. Don't take that for granted. That's not a consolation prize or anything like that. That's just the reality of where this team is right now. We're sitting here debating on whether or not we should panic, and this team is 8 games over 500 as we round into the final stretch of the NBA season. The second part is for a team who, again, last year won 36 games and has 33 wins right now before the end of February. The big thing was, is your franchise headed in the right direction? And as we were coming into this, we saw that the Kings fans, who have lost, I think, 16 in a row now.
Yep, they're 0-10 in their last 10 and lost 16 straight.
They're out here remixing sad songs made by Canadian rappers. And it's a reminder that it could be so much worse. We can just look back 365 days to be reminded that it could be so much worse. And the other part of it is there is a clear vision for the future. It depends on a lot of your young players hitting. But they're in a great situation to where they are going to have an opportunity to play in high leverage situations to learn and trial by fire that we talked about. Ultimately, they're going to come out of it either better, or we're going to find out they're not built for it. Hopefully it's the former, but we're going to learn about what you have on this roster, especially during this stretch. So I just think that if you're looking moving forward as far as it goes, there are a lot of positives to hang on to. And there are a lot of franchises who think that you're in an enviable position because they would love to trade places with you right now based on their lack of fortune. Talk about not having to pick. There's a team in New Orleans who's won like 15 games this year who also doesn't have a pick this year. So I'd rather be 8 games over 500 without a pick than to be 30, however many games under 500 and give your number 1 pick to somebody else. I'm just saying.
Very well said. I think the nice deep breath has done us all good. Ayrton, are you feeling better? I feel like Ayrton's feeling better.
I think I'm more closer to a 1 now.
Wow.
Steven Zen, those deep breaths did it to me.
With each deep breath I took, I went from a 3 to a 2 and then 2 to 1. So if you guys notice, I did 2 deep breaths. It was like to bring me down.
Last thing I'll round it out with, which you brought up, Gil. If you close your eyes again, we're not doing deep breaths this time, but if that's what you want to do, I would never tell you don't do it. Think back to before this season started and close your eyes. Think about 24 games left post All-Star break. If I was to tell you, to Gil's point, that this team is 8 games over 500 with 24 games left, that would probably be the response. Yeah. Followed by a how.
How? What do you mean by that?
And the proof of concept has been on display more often than not this season. I think that should be where you find some comfort and you're able to get closer to that 1 that I'm at and just being patient, cautiously patient, but patient nonetheless.
Now, I will say this.
Even the tone of your voice has changed. Them deep breaths did a lot, bro.
It's been all kumbaya. Now it might get worse before it gets better.
And sometimes it does. It's darkest before dawn.
It might get worse before it gets better.
It definitely could.
Coming up, you've got Boston and you've got LA to round out this week. Those are 2 good teams. You're going to be without Devin Booker for both of those games. Yep. The good news is after that, you have 4 days off. 4 days off. Hopefully then Devin Booker and Grayson Allen are back. Jalen Green can reset again after hopefully playing this entire week. We'll maybe have a timeline on Jordan Goodwin. We'll maybe see some good reps from these young guys as they know that they're going to be in the rotation, and this team can reevaluate over those 4 days. And then you come back and it's go time. Sacramento, Chicago, New Orleans. That needs to be a 3-0 stretch for this team. And I promise you, when we go 3-0 over those games, we will be right back here talking about, see, you shouldn't have panicked. And then it's a little tougher, but manageable. Charlotte, Milwaukee, Indiana, Toronto, Boston, Minnesota, San Antonio. Like, it gets good, but you should be healthier. If Devin Booker is on this court and playing, this team is going to be all right. And hopefully Jalen Green just gets better. Yeah. There are reasons to get excited for what will be a rough stretch in some ways without Dillon Brooks, but by no means has all hope been lost. There's still wind in the sails. The seas got a little choppy, but guess what? We don't got that much farther to go, and you can see land.
I thought you were going to say, when you said the seas get choppy, you're not the Clippers, because that would have been a bar. But I was just going to say, too, Jalen Green said as well that he's not looking past the games coming, but looking forward to, after these next 2 games this week, being able to reassess himself and where he is, hoping that he can be in a spot where he's turning corners more frequently on the court, playing closer to the guy that we saw with the fast break dunk yesterday.
2 things I want to say. One, Spike, yes, I did see Oso's shot attempt, but it was more of a floater than an actual catch-and-shoot jumper, which is what he was working on in the gym. My jury is out on that. Like, that's like a multi-year project. We have to come back on that in, like, 2028.
I think we can all come to terms with the fact that Oso's never going to have a jumper.
Yeah, basically, but that also wasn't like a real jumper. He was like a push shot floater from 9 feet away.
Too good already.
I'm not judging it based on that. The other thing, more particular to what you were saying, momentum's a real thing. You talked about like that stretch where you need to go 3-0. If you do, when you said when you do go 3-0 in that stretch, yes, it gets tougher after that, but it feels a lot better to go into a tough stretch on a 3-game winning streak than it would be if you were just kind of like hobbling into it, having played the Lakers and Celtics. So take this very seriously. Also, when you play that Hornets game, is a primetime game at home. We know how this home crowd can get behind you. So it's going to be tough for the Hornets to come in, especially mentioning that this team is going to be healthy. Long way to go before we get there, but I think that building momentum in the right way, fighting against these Celtics and Lakers, and maybe stealing one from one of those teams will go a long way as far as that goes too.
This is a team that I am excited to watch play basketball every single night. And to be honest with you, I'm excited to watch Kaman. I'm excited to watch Rasheer. I'm excited to watch Ryan Dunn because I'm still holding on belief. The excitement.
Oh, skill development is not a straight line.
I know.
It's more like this than it is a straight from point A to point.
It's just,
I'm not saying that for you.
It's been a straight line, but in the other direction.
No, I'm saying that for people on the timeline that always talk about Ryan Dunn. I still believe. No chance. We just had somebody yesterday say he has no potential. Like, what are we talking about
potential is
right
crazy. He definitely has potential.
What are we doing right now? Are we fairly assessing things, or are we just looking at the negatives and leaning into those? Come on, man. Oh, yeah, for sure, obviously.
Yeah, I get excited to watch this team play basketball every single night because I always think they have a chance. And for that, I am absolutely grateful. And one other name that we'll throw back out there is, maybe 4 to 6 weeks without Dillon Brooks. Haywood Highsmith's timeline was just 2 to 3 weeks for reevaluation. Maybe that's also a little, not mid-season, but mid-stretch boost, getting Haywood Highsmith added to that. And we'll see what this team can do. Let's get out of here with a super chat from Kev, who's been a member for 1 month. Thank you so much, Kev, for celebrating a month as a member. MVP things. Says, no more injuries this season, please. We've been hurting since last season. Excited to see the locksmith when he comes into the fold, though. If you want to get a little taste of what Haywood Highsmith can bring to the court, Steven did a film breakdown that is evergreen on our channel. You definitely want to go and check that out. We have a lot of really fun stuff in the works for you coming out soon. We are going to continue to keep you covered on everything Phoenix Suns related. That means we'll be live Monday through Friday this week because there will be no games over the weekend. So any day that there is not a pregame show, a watch along, and a postgame show, we'll be having a 3 p.m. show. So make sure you tune into that on Wednesday and on Friday. And then, of course, we're doing watch alongs for the rest of the season. We've got pregame, postgame coverage. Steven will be out at all the home games. We have you covered on everything Suns related because it will be a fun end to the season.
That and because nobody does it like us.
That is also true. We got to get out of here because Steven and Gil need to go find J. Cole roaming around Phoenix.
He's waiting on us.
He's like, man, Steven, he's like, you have more Dreamville gear than I do.
Carolina connections.
Facts.
There we go. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. That's to you, J. Cole, at PHNX_Suns.
Oh, no, I'm gonna give him a card for sure.
For sure.
Most
For sure,
definitely.
yeah. Tell him to come on the show.
Eve getting the cards, yeah, absolutely.
We need somebody who's played pro basketball on the show. That's the next thing that we
Big
need. We got
facts.
collegiate basketball. We got me with intramural basketball. And then we need to get pro basketball on the show. So that's the next step up with J. Cole. Tell J. Cole to also follow the Freckled Mamba at Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. No longer on edge. Complete zen for Freckled Mamba.
We talked him off it.
I can see it. His posture has completely relaxed. You can follow Steven at
Like he's
Steven.
about to fall asleep over there.
I think that's more of an indictment on us. Follow Steven at StevenPG3. If you don't want to catch him covering the Suns, he also runs a yoga class every single Saturday morning at 4:30 in the morning at the local park. So go out there and do some SPG chi with him out in the park. You can follow Gil at Gil McGregor _ You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We're all growing together, and it's okay if you're freaked out now. I promise we'll check in a little bit, and it'll all be better. We'll talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.